For most of us, history begins when we started writing, but the earth began long before ink, and memory is not loyal to what survives on paper. Most of whatever's happened without witnesses, in eras without an alphabet, in times and cultures whose names dissolved back into soil. Civilizations weren't forgotten because they were small. Many were forgotten because the next world never learned how to hear them. This video is about listening to stone, to ruin, to resonance, to the hands that shaped the world before anyone knew its name. It's also about the hollow beneath history, that quiet field where pattern waits till someone becomes still enough to hear them again. So we like to begin the human story around 3000 BC, when clay tablets hardened into memory and alphabets learned how to hold their shape. But the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. Between those numbers yawns enough time for countless human experiments, symbolic, technological, architectural, to rise, transform, vanish, and even return in new skins. A few traces still survive. That bronze mechanism they found dreaming in seawater, stones aligned with mathematics older than our timelines, monuments tracing the sky with impossible precision. Craftsmanship that revises what we thought our ancestors actually knew. These aren't fantasies begging for myth. They're reminders. Mastery flickers, fades, it returns. Human ingenuity is a tide. For generations, textbooks told the stories as if humanity were a straight line, primitive to advanced, simple to complex, caves to cathedrals. But our bones disagree. You carry the ghost of species that never had an alphabet, and yet somehow knew how to survive a glacial winter. When you feel a sudden irrational spike of awe looking up at the moon, it's not just you. That's 100,000 years of Neanderthal night watchers standing up in your DNA. We aren't the pinnacle. We are just the latest version of their endurance. Homo naldae burying their dead, Denisovan jewelry carved with improbable delicacy, Neanderthals painting with ember and breath. Our ancestry is not a ladder, it's a braid. Species overlapping, teaching, competing, blending. Some of their intuitions still survive. A taste for ritual, a sensitivity to space, a sensitivity to place, a way of arranging symbol and space that still feels familiar. We aren't the pinnacle, we're the continuation. If our civilization ended tomorrow, what would remain in 10,000 years? 100,000? A million? The Silurian Hypothesis asks this humbly, not to propose lost super empires, but to admit what deep time erases. We think our concrete's permanent, but spend nearly 20 years on the east side and you're going to see how fast the surface peels away. Nature doesn't hate our cities. It's just busy recycling them. If we vanished today, the forests wouldn't conquer Vancouver. They'd just stop being interrupted. In a million years, our entire digital age won't even be a layer of dust. It'll be a strange chemical ache and a slab of some limestone. A footprint of a species that forgot that it was a guest. Which means that right now, we're probably standing on top of a civilization that thought that it was just as permanent as we do. And the only thing left of them is the oil we're using to power the internet. Cities crumble, metals decay, satellites fall, concrete returns to dust. From the Earth's perspective, humanity is a bright flare, not a permanent structure. And some signatures still endure. Carbon spikes, isotopic distortions, chemical scars layered in stone. Those are the faintest footprints of industrial life, ours or anyone else's. Whether or not the younger dry ice boundary reveals more than climate whiplash, one truth stays firm. Earth remembers in stone what humanity forgets in story. Some ancient builders shaped stone with such precision that even now their structures teach more than our assumptions allow. Maybe their tools weren't exotic, but their thinking was. Those builders didn't have blueprints, 3D renders. They had resonance. They didn't see the finished temple. They felt the tension of the geometry as it approached coherence. They were doing neurology with myth, using the sheer weight of a stone to pin down the wobble of the stars. It wasn't magic. It was high fidelity alignment between the human sternum and the cosmic axis. They were pinning the hollow to the ground. Standing stone might not just be a rock, but a frozen syllable. A solstice temple might not just be architecture, but a sentence written in sky and shadow. Whether they carved with sound or not isn't a question. They certainly built for sound, for ritual, for coherence, for transmission. Sites like the Newgrange or the underground chambers in Malta weren't just tombs. They were acoustic instruments engineered to amplify specific frequencies around 110 Hz. Modern neurology tells us that that is the exact frequency that shifts the human brain into an alpha state, the state of deep trance. They didn't have electricity. They didn't need it. They used the sheer mass of the earth to hack the human nervous system. They built an interface between the human body and the cyclical rhythm of the planet. Their work speaks in a language that bypasses text and moves straight through field, body, and hollow. And we're deciphering our own handwriting after an age of forgetting. Progress is not a line. Nothing in nature moves that way. Nature prefers spirals, shapes that remember their previous loops. Civilizations spiral too. Every renaissance is a return, every golden age a recollection, every breakthrough a resurfacing. Mathematics, myth, music, mapping the sky. We say we discover these things, but perhaps we retrieve them. Patterns made visible again when attention ripens enough to notice. Every time we think we've invented a new way for being human, we're usually just remembering a survival strategy that worked 40,000 years ago. We aren't innovating. We're just finally getting quiet enough to hear the broadcast again. When we study neuroscience, we're just putting new names on the halo that our ancestors lived inside of every single day. We are a species that keeps waking up in its own library and pretending it's never seen the books. History is not advancing. It's circling a question. What are we? Those who came before us didn't just carve their names into the stones. They carved their questions. They aligned monuments to the stars, not just to impress their rulers, but to converse with the cosmos. They built for coherence, not conquest. Or maybe they did both. Maybe they built temples to the stars and then sacrificed their neighbors on the altar. We don't get to pretend they're perfect just because they're ancient. But they definitely understood the friction. Many people, not just mystics and hippies, claim that stones vibrate when touched. Not miraculously, but because stone carries sound the way that bones carry memory. You don't need a mystic to tell you that. Just go stand next to a heavy bass. You feel the vibration in your sternum, not your ears. The ancients just built their speakers out of rocks. Angles mirror celestial cycles, shadows track time, geometry preserves intention. We mistake their silence for primitivity, but silence is an ignorance. Silence is trust. They built for a future. Not the next generation, but the next remembering. Ours. We are living through that return. Concepts resurfacing now, harmonic architecture, sacred geometry, cosmic mapping, symbolic patterns, are not inventions. They're re-emergences. The questions we ask about consciousness, ancestry, coherence, meaning, were asked long before alphabets. When we scan the sky with sensors, we are echoing ancient wrists lifting polished stones to track the same motion. When we study myth with neuroscience, we decode a language designed to survive cultural collapse. We are not innovating. We're remembering, which is why every discovery feels like a word on the tip of the species' tongue. Perhaps across tens of thousands of years, we aren't simply a new species. We're just the exact same tension trying to solve the exact same equation, just under different conditions. Before us walked those who carved their wonder into the bones of the world. We're not merely their descendants. We are their remembering. Every act of understanding is an echo returned across millennia. Their silence was not absence. It was faith. Faith that someday peoples would arrive with minds quiet enough to hear what the stones have been saying all along. Their ruins are not ruins. They're reminders.